It's also comes about through the different ways in which we have the person be with their suffering, that they can like look in a mirror and experience their pain, look in a mirror and ask their pain, what are you showing me? What do I see of myself in you? When we tune in at the various levels and use our powers of empathy, our powers of compassion, this type of receptivity, and can be with the person like a mirror that says, look, as I'm with you, this is what I experience. What are you experiencing? Let's live this fully. Let's listen to it, and it will teach us, it will guide us. That this is a very powerful process of being the mirror, of helping them find the mirror for themselves within their own process, within their own suffering. For you know, when you look in the mirror, you're ultimately looking at God. God who's trying to get out and live more fully in your body, in your experience. I discussed in this lecture the person who has a disturbing psychic experience. This is because at Atlantic University we've done a lot of work with people who are having those kinds of problems, partly because this is part of the Edgar Cayce legacy, and also because it provided us with a very special opportunity to look at a particular problem that seemed to have very special qualities, psychic ability, mystical events, and so on, and yet find within these situations normal processes going on in which a person is looking for a way of experiencing the mirroring in their problem, in their situation. Now, they're not aware of this, but their indirect or vicarious suffering through telepathic or psychic means was bringing back to them something that they had lost, a part of themselves. It was kind of like the return of the repressed, where something is pushed away because it's too painful, and then another experience, another channel brings back this part that's been pushed away, but in another form, a form that can be looked at, that can be related to. The message is still there, the suffering is still there, the person has to come to re-own some feelings, but it comes in a way that they can accept the pain, the suffering that they have to go through. So that very often then what a person is doing is recapturing some part of themselves. You know, we tend to get a particularly one-sided and through the use of power and coping and striving, and then other parts of ourselves tend to get neglected, and these parts come back. The illness remembers us, puts us back together again, and we as the healer are staying present for this process, helping the person go through it. Another principle was healer, heal thyself. In other words, that in order for you to be maximally effective as a healing presence, you have to be able to stay calm, stay loving, stay acceptant, not freak out, not overreact, not run away. Even if you do have emotions, that they're not predicated on the fact of you resisting the problem. And this comes about, or this is possible, because of the healing experiences that you have had. We're going to see here briefly an example of what it might be like to not have worked through a process yourself and then trying to help somebody else with the problem. You tend to bring your own defenses into play. What you look at as helping them, you're actually making it worse. You're training them in how you resist dealing with the problem yourself. Then you become a counter-reactive. You're somebody who is in some way, either by trying to beat down the problem or run away from it, you are not being helpful. And we all get into these situations. We're not pure. Many people say that the reason they engage in therapy, the reason they engage in some healing modality is to heal themselves. I've often thought many times when someone would come to see me, what part of myself is in need of healing that this person would show up in my life? Because undoubtedly, as I'm working with them, as I'm trying to stay centered and loving and acceptant with them, things come up. I have to face certain things, and I have to have the ability to work with that. The last concept that I'd like to remind you of is that of medicine. We can think of this in the Native American way of gaining your medicine, learning your medicine, discovering your medicine. Medicine is what heals. Well, what is medicine in the Native American way? It is lessons learned. It is experience. It's the power that comes to you through the development of your consciousness. So we say that a person comes upon their medicine by dealing with the things that confront them in life, by being gripped by the gods and going through a healing crisis and learning from it, being changed by it, and coming out of it now with a new respect for some other dimension of life. And then having this awareness, you're able then to share it with others. So you might ask yourself, what is your medicine? What medicines have you been given because of your experiences? It would be a very good exercise for you to sit back and think about how you have learned from adversity. What problems have you had? What challenges have you had? What downfalls have you had that have helped you grow? Have you ever been fired from a job? What did you learn from that? Did you ever fall down and break your leg? What piece of wisdom did you grow from that? Have you ever been so angry that you've lost control? What did you learn from that? Make an inventory. If you wish, you could join the string of authors, and there's many, many, many out there, who've written a number of books along the lines of how I faced a horrible crisis and met God and developed lots of healing abilities and got rich in the process. Whether it was how I combated depression and came out a happy camper, how I survived divorce and came to love everybody, whatever it might be, there's a number of books out there on this theme because it's very current these days. Because we are being confronted with so many changes and we're having to reap the medicine in these changes, in these challenges. And it's your ability to have gone through these kinds of things is what you're really offering to your client. You might say it's a sense of practical faith because you've been there, you know that there is something on the other side. And this is what gives you your inner credibility. This is what gives you the strength to sit there and be with the person. This is what gives you that quality that they call medicine. So think about it. What is your medicine? And you'll be surprised, I'm sure, that you have some or you would not be attracted to this particular endeavor. Okay. Let's talk about the healing encounter for a moment. Has it ever occurred to you that one of the values of being a healer is that you get healed yourself? Well, it definitely happens. You can say that being a healer is one way of working on yourself. Perhaps because it brings up so many challenges, so many opportunities. Because you're only working with yourself the whole time. You're trying to maintain a certain environment in which the other person can use that environment to heal themselves. And for you to maintain that environment, that healing environment, that healing presence, requires that you be working on yourself.